Joyce, could you could you that newspaper that's there? Joyce. Please be seated, everyone. The record should reflect the jury is back in the courtroom. Call your next witness, please, Ms. Tish McGuire.
Louis Duran.
Good morning. And I have you raise your right hand, please, so that I can administer an oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please be seated. Please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names.
Louis Xavier Duran, Louis Xavier
Mr. Duran, I'm going to ask you to get closer to the microphone, please, so that everybody can hear you. So you can move the chair, and you can also move the microphone. Thank you. All right, Ms. Tish McGuire, you may proceed.
Good morning.
Morning.
Were you at the Century 16 movie theater on July 19th, 2012 in Aurora, Colorado?
Yes.
Did that go into the early morning hours of July 20th, 2012?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about what you remember about the day of July 19th prior to going to the movie theater that day.
Working at P.F. Chang's. At the time in Southlands, closing the restaurant down, and just, very excited and anxious to watch this movie that me and my friends were going to go. And after closing down the restaurant, immediately went home, got ready, showered, and picked up my friend Ryan. And from there, we drove to the movie theater.
And what is the full name of your friend Ryan?
Ryan Lumba.
What time did you and Mr. Lumba arrive at the theater that night?
Not 100% sure. It's all a blur. 10:30, about 10-ish, maybe even sooner than that.
I'm sorry. Could you pull the microphone closer to you, please? Thank you.
What did you do when you got to the movie theater?
As soon as I arrived to the movie theater, me and Ryan were meeting up with a couple other friends, Devin Suits, Phil Hargrove, and Nick DeRogi. And they actually had bought tickets for us, so we were there to pick up the tickets from there and join a group of friends. As soon as we got into the movie theater, Theater 9, we saw a couple other, friends that were there, and we said hi to a couple of other guys. And as we were walking up looking for seats, we saw that Devin and Nick had saved a few seats for us. And we had asked if we could switch seats with them. And
Why'd you ask them if you could switch seats?
just kind of get a better view of the movie. And
Your friends were nice enough to
and they were
switch
nice
seats.
enough to do that for me. For me and Ryan, actually, because we both switched with Nick and Devin.
Do you remember anything else happening before the movie began?
just conversations. Nothing really else before the movie, after we took a seat.
What happened in the middle of your movie?
Middle of my movie, sitting there watching, and I see some get thrown across the movie theater. Looking towards the movie theater, it'd be thrown across on the left side of the movie theater. Lower second row, not quite sure, but that's where I believe it, landed.
And when you're saying the lower second row, are you talking about of the stadium seating, or are you talking about low?
Stadium seating.
Okay. So if you're facing the movie theater screen, it's to the left of the stadium seating.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you recall happening after that?
As soon as that got thrown across the room, or the theater, a lot of smoke started to appear. As I know now, it was tear gas.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Sustained.
So at the time you saw smoke go across the theater at that time. What do you recall after that?
After that, I immediately started seeing flashes and loud bangs. And
Where did you see those flashes?
between the stadium and the front row seating, like that hall or that little area where you walk.
Is that on the right side of the theater if you're facing the movie theater screen?
I was looking at the movie theater from where I'm sitting. It'd be coming from the right side. And so immediately I started seeing flashes and loud bangs, and the whole time while I was sitting down, I'm also trying to watch the movie thinking, it's just a prank, and nothing really severe is happening. It's just someone fooling around.
And, Your Honor, if I may approach the witness with what's been marked as People's Exhibit 1121.
Yes.
Mr. Durian, do you recognize that diagram?
Yes.
Is that a diagram that you drew depicting of where you and your friends were seated on July 20th of 2012?
Yes.
Does that fairly and accurately represent your memory of that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would move for the admission of People's Exhibit 1121.
Mr. King, do you have any objection to the admission of P-TR-1121?
No.
All right, without objection, it is admitted.
All right, if I could please have 1121 published. All right, now Mr. Durian, there is a mouse up near your computer screen up there. You could kind of, let me see, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Let's see if it's, okay. All right, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. All right, so there's a cordless microphone up there, Mr. Durian. If you could grab that.
Okay.
And there's a large stick behind you on that ledge. All right, if you could step down carefully, and if you could show the jury where you were seated that night. All right, so that's you, and who's seated in the other chairs? And if you could turn the microphone on and talk into that for the jury.
That's me. Ryan Lumba, Devin Suits, Nick DeRogi, Phil Hargrove.
All right, and where on that diagram do you describe where that canister went across the theater?
So from the right side of the movie theater, it was thrown to the left side, and I believe it was landed in this area right here.
Could you tell the jury where you saw the flashes on that diagram?
Flashes, started seeing it from here and going across, back and forth in this area.
All right, thank you very much. You can take your seat. So you had seen this canister come across the theater and saw some smoke. What do you recall happening after that? And if you could get close to the microphone, please.
Sorry. Immediately, again, the flashes and the bangs. I looked to my left, and I didn't know these people, but I seen them throw themselves on the ground, start hearing yelling and screaming, and I looked once more ahead of me, and I'm starting to realize that maybe it's not a prank. When that moment of that I realized that it wasn't a prank, I got hit on the right side of my head, and it felt like someone had haymakered my head. Someone had like severely punched me and almost knocked the lights out of me. As soon as that happened, I stood up and I threw myself on the ground. And I can remember not being able to move my right arm whatsoever. And blood is just pouring down on the right side of my face. And I'm not able to see out of my right eye because of that. I'm laying there and seeing all this blood. I knew I got hit in the head with something, and I thought for sure it had, hit my brain or something because, I'm not able to move my right arm. Didn't think I was going to make it. So I reached down to my left pocket, grabbed my phone. I called the most important person in my life, my mother. I told her.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Your Honor, it's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, but it goes to a state of mind of what he was thinking and whether or not this was potentially an attempted murder that was happening.
Judge, may we approach?
Yes. All right, the objection is sustained. Ms. Teach McGuire, go ahead.
What did you do after you called your mother?
I think whatever son would say to their mother, that they loved them. And
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
And sorry, Mr. Durian, if you could just not say what you told your mother, but what you remember happening after you had the phone call with your mother.
okay, after the phone call, I lost connection, and I stopped hearing gunshots, and I started noticing people getting up and running out of the emergency exit room on the top left side of the theater. So as people were crawling and running and walking out of the theater, I was able to get myself up, and I knew that maybe I've had a chance to live, and I can possibly survive the night. And I was able to crawl out of the exit, and there was a gentleman there who had grabbed me and helped me down the stairs.
And I'm going to stop you right there for a second, Mr. Durian. Could you see, before you had crawled, what had happened to your friends?
My mind was like a blur, and I wasn't able to see clearly. I look down and I see my buddy Ryan just laying on the ground, and I had no idea if he was okay or not. But I know he was down on the floor, and this is when I was laying on the ground as well. I looked down.
Now, prior to that time that you had said that the gunfire had stopped, was the gunfire continuous throughout that period of time?
At that moment, yes, the gunshots were still live, and I don't, I have no idea how long it was.
Did you ever at any point in time see a shooter in the theater?
Did not.
So you saw flashes and you saw smoke, but that's all that you saw, and you heard the gunfire. All right.
I'm sorry. You need to answer the question verbally, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So you got to the point where you thought it was your chance to maybe escape from the theater, and so you were telling the jury there was a larger gentleman that was helping you.
Yes.
Okay, so if you could continue to tell the jury what you remember after that.
So after being helped down the stairs, he went to go help others, and I was able to exit out of the theater, and at this point I'm outside. I'm outside, and there hasn't been any police or ambulances or anybody yet to help. So I was scared of my life again because I'm still bleeding from the right side of my head, and I'm asking for help. I'm yelling out for help, and there's a lady that approaches me, and she's crying, and she's like, "How can I help you?" And I went down to my instincts I have to wrap my head up to stop the bleeding, so I asked her to help me remove my shirt, so I may wrap my shirt around my head. As soon as she helped me remove that piece of shirt that I had, the police started arriving, ambulances immediately, a trooper car sped up right in front of me and parked, and they're running in with full body gear and guns, running into the theater. Still haven't been helped. The one thing I forgot to ask the lady was to help wrap the shirt around my head. So I'm having a hard time because I can't feel my right arm, and I'm pressing my head against the trooper car with the t-shirt, trying to stop the bleeding. Yelling out, "Help, help." I go back to my phone and I call my mom once more and try to give her information of where I was.
Objection, hearsay, Judge.
You cannot talk about what was said outside the courtroom, okay? Ms. Tish McGuire, ask your next question, please. The objection is sustained. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you get transported to a hospital?
Yes, I did. I had a police officer grab me from the trooper car, looked at me immediately and dragged me, sat me on a curb, and there was other victims there as well. Victims that were shot in the neck, arm, blood drooling from this girl's mouth, just spitting out a lot of blood, and paramedics started to approach us and grabbed me and this other gentleman that had a gunshot wound to the neck, and he was holding it and giving me comfort at the same time. He was holding on to me and saying that we'll be okay. As soon as we entered the trooper car, he took us to the hospital, South Aurora Clinic. And from there, I got medical treatment from nurses and doctors, and took a lot of photographs for evidence and stuff. And
Now, Mr. Durian, did you learn what your injuries were when you were at the hospital?
yes, I did. After knowing that, being in the hospital, they treated me with a lot of CAT scans and X-rays to see if I had any major wounds, and the gunshots to the head weren't severe to penetrate the skull and hit my brain, so I knew that I was okay, that my brain was okay, and I had gotten shot on the arm, and that's why my right arm wasn't able to function properly.
Where else did you get shot?
I had a shrapnel hit my knee, have one in my chest, I have them in my fingers. I had one that hit the left top side of above the eyebrow, and then shrapnel on my right side of my head.
Approximately how many were you told that you had been hit with?
Like 27, 28.
Your Honor, if I may approach Mr. Duran with what's been marked as 2048, 2042, 2043, 2044, 2045,
Yes.
2046, and 2047.
Yes.
Judge, I've reviewed these and I have no objection to their admission.
Okay. They're all admitted. P-TR-2042 through 2048 inclusive are admitted and may be published.
Great, if I could please have 2048. All right, could you please describe for the jury what we're seeing in this photograph?
Here looks like I'm in the hospital and being treated, and I have shrapnel on the left top side of my eyebrow.
Great, if we could please have 2042. All right, could you please describe for the jury what this photograph depicts?
It's a shotgun wound to my right arm. I have shrapnel from the forearm to the elbow to the tricep to the shoulder.
Great. 2043.
I had a little shrapnel on my right side of my chest.
2044.
Shrapnel in my right side of my head.
2045.
Shrapnel to the knee, right side of my right leg.
2046.
Shrapnel penetrating my wrist and exiting out.
Where did that one exit out?
It exited out, I believe it came in, do you want me to point it out?
Sure, if you could grab that microphone again, please, and then use that pointer. Great, thanks.
I had shrapnel enter the side of my wrist and came out to the other side of the wrist.
Okay. Thank you very much. You can take your seat. Now I could have 2047.
Shrapnel penetrated my pinky into my ring finger.
Great. Thank you very much. Do you know if you still have any shrapnel or pellets inside your body?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what location that is at?
I still have that shrapnel in my chest. The one on my knee, I don't know where it's at, but I know it's in there from X-rays. And then I still have a few in my arm.
Do you have any other permanent remaining injuries as a result of the
I
shooting?
have nerve damage from the right side of my hand going up to my forearm, and
No further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Cross-examination for this witness, Mr. King.
I have no questions, thank you.
All right. It does not appear that the jury has any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Ms. Tish-McGuire?
Please, Your Honor.
Without objection.
All right, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Call your next witness, please.
Ryan Lumba, please.
Good morning. Could I have you raise your right hand for me, please, so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm on a penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Please be seated. Please tell us your full name for the record and spell your first, middle, and last names.
Ryan Christopher Lumba, RyanChristPherLumba.
Ms. Tish-McGuire, you may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Lumba. Were you at the Century 16 movie theater on July 19th of 2012 in Aurora, Colorado?
Yes.
Did that go into the early morning of July 20th of 2012?
Yes.
What do you recall about the day of July 19th of 2012 prior to going to the movies that day?
From what I remember, I had a work closing shift at Doc Popcorn located at the Aurora Mall just across the movie theater. And then right before I entered work, I went to go pick up some tickets for The Dark Knight Rises for that showing that night. And then after I closed to work around 9 to 9:30, I immediately went home. I got changed, and then Louis Duran picked me up around 11 o'clock.
What time did you two arrive at the theater?
The two of us arrived at the theater at like around 11:20, 11:25.
What did you do when you got to the theater?
We just met up with other friends of ours, Devin Suits, Nick Drogi, and Phil Hargrove, and they gave us our tickets because they reserved some tickets for that night as well.
Did you go to the concession stand? Did you do anything else before you went into the theater?
No, ma'am. We just went straight to the movie theater.
Do you recall what theater number you went into?
Theater 9.
How'd you go about finding your seats?
We just looked around. The theater was obviously packed. It was noisy, but the crowd, Devin, Nick, and Phil reserved some seats for us, so we just took the remaining seats up there.
So when you say that the theater was packed that evening, were there very many empty seats at all in the theater that you remember?
Very few. The only remaining open seats was, I believe, the stadium.
That upper level of the stadium?
No, like right in front of the screen, like the bottom seats.
Okay, so the lower screens right in front of the screen.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're facing the movie theater screen, those ones at the very front.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What do you recall doing until the movie began?
We were just waiting for the movie to start. There's a lot of open play with everybody in the movie theater, and then
What do you mean by open play?
like there's a lot of people cosplaying and just playing jokes and standing around before the seats, like people that were seated on the lower end stadium. And then Louis Duran saw one of our friends that worked at the movie theater, and he went to go talk to him. And this was like 10 to 15 minutes prior to the movie starting.
What happened during the movie that night?
So from what I remember, about 15 minutes into the movie starting, right after previews, I believe the first shooting scene, people were just engaged in the movie, and then right after we saw I saw something thrown across the movie theater, and it lay out some smoke. The whole movie theater assumed it was just a prank and horseplay, so some people, like myself, I went to my phone and we just assumed it was just horseplay. And then what happened after those few moments, it was kind of a blur. I noticed something was wrong. I looked over to my right to Devin's suits and I pulled him down, and then I believed to get hit by gunfire simultaneously, and I just went to the ground after that.
So when you say you believe, so at that time you thought you were shot and you went to the ground immediately.
Yes.
What did that feel like?
So I felt a lot of punches to my entire abdominal side and my shoulder. And I didn't really realize it. I just kind of pulled Devin to the side to the ground while I got hit. So it was just like a lot of punches towards my side.
What do you remember after that?
I got dazed. I do not remember the immediate events after that, but after a few moments waking up from being dazed, I found myself holding my left abdominal and I was breathing very heavily. I heard a lot of running and screaming, and I recall telling myself, I think I got shot. It was very cold on my left side, so I just assumed I got shot.
Do you remember if you were hearing any gunshots at this time?
No, because all I heard was ringing, just a lot of ringing noises like from an explosion, so I couldn't really hear anything except running and screaming.
What happened after you were holding your left side?
I was just breathing to myself, just trying to hold on, and then a few moments after that I blacked out.
What's the next thing you remember?
The next thing I remember after that, waking up, I woke up in the hospital.
Now, while you were in the movie theater, did you ever see a shooter?
No.
Do you recall seeing anything other than the smoke and hearing any gunshots?
No, ma'am.
What did you learn happened to you when you were at the hospital?
They recalled to me how many days it passed since the night.
How many days was that
I'm assuming 3 to 5 days.
before you woke up?
Yes.
What did you learn about your injuries at that time?
The doctor said I sustained multiple gunshot wounds on my abdominal side. I had a bullet pierce my left lung. So to prevent it from collapsing any further, I had a tube inserted to my left lung, and I had a few bullets pierce my left arm.
What had happened to your abdominal region?
They said they did some surgery to remove some pellets, and they removed some of my lower smaller intestine because it was damaged.
So you actually had some of your lower intestine removed.
Yes.
Your Honor, if I may approach the witness with what's been marked as People's Exhibits 4561, 4562, and 2114.
Yes.
Do you recognize the person in those photographs?
Yes.
Is that person in the photographs you?
Yes.
Do those photographs fairly and accurately depict your injuries that you sustained on July 20th of 2012?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would move for the admission of People's Exhibits 4561, 4562, and 2114.
No objection.
All right, without objection, P-TR-. Ms. Tish McGuire, are you sure it's 4561 and 4562?
I could approach the witness,
Why
Your
don't you
Honor.
check?
4561 and 4562 and 2114.
2114. Okay, thank you. All right, without objection, those three exhibits are admitted and may be published.
All right, if I could please have 4561. All right, if you could please describe for the jury where you're injured in this photograph.
I got injured within my left lung. One bullet pierced my left lung, so
All right. If I could have 4562.
It shows my left lung up close and one bullet piercing my left shoulder.
All right. Now I could please have 2114.
That shows my left abdominal injury and the surgery they performed at the hospital to remove parts of my damaged smaller intestine.
All right. Now, do you have any lasting injuries today because of those injuries, Mr. Lumba?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. It goes to the nature, character, and extent of the injuries.
You can tell the jury about the lasting impacts of your injuries.
Just digestive system, I can't really eat normally, so I have to precaution on what I eat sometimes and how fast I eat. I have some pellets in my body still remaining, so it limits my flexibility with physical activity at times.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that Mr. Lumba come up to the front and approach the diagram with me.
Okay.
And Mr. Lumba, if you could grab that cordless microphone that's up there, please, and turn that on and come meet me. All right, if you could stay kind of right here. Okay. All right, if you could please show the jury where you were seated on July 20th of 2012.
We were seated, me and my group of friends were seated like around this area.
All right, and could you remember where you exactly were seated, approximately, and which friend was on either side of you?
On my left side was Louis Duran, my right was Devin Suits, then Nick Drogi, and then Phil Hargrove.
All right, so let's just say if we pick a row, just approximately, if you could point to the jury about where you were.
Approximately like around right here or right here.
All right, and where was Mr. Duran seated?
Louis Duran was located on my left side.
Right, and can you tell the jury about where you remember falling down and how your body was positioned as you fell down that night?
So just right in front of our seats, the area right in front. I just pulled Devin Suits around this area.
Right, and that's the last thing that you remember from that night?
Yes.
No further questions. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Is there any cross-examination, Mr. King?
No, thank you.
All right. And the jury does not appear to have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena?
Please, Your Honor.
Without objection.
All right. Thank you, sir. Call your next witness, please.
Thomas Sheridan.
Good morning. Could I have you raise your right hand for me so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm in the penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please be seated. Please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names.
Thomas Keith Sheridan. Thomas Keith is my middle, and Sheridan Sheridan.
Mr. Edson, you may proceed with your direct examination.
Thank you. Sir, what do you do for a living?
Currently, I'm working for Kroger. I'm on the loss prevention technology side.
What is Kroger?
Kroger is a enterprise grocery store.
Are you familiar with numerous stores that go by the name of King Soopers?
Yes, I am.
Is that part of the Kroger family?
It is. It's a division.
I'm going to refer your attention back to 2012, July of 2012. Were you employed by Kroger and or King Soopers back during that time period?
Yes.
What was your employment back then like?
I was a district loss prevention manager for King Soopers.
What is generally your job description as a district loss prevention supervisor?
I manage the day-to-day operations of the loss prevention department for a district.
As a loss prevention employee, do you work with law enforcement on occasion related to particular types of items being requested?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention also to August of 2015, where you also employed in a loss prevention type capacity for King Soopers and Kroger.
Yes.
Are you a custodian of records for purchases from King Soopers?
Yes.
And just so we're all familiar and on the same page here, it's fair to say King Soopers is a local grocery store chain here in the Colorado Rocky Mountain West region. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Stores throughout the metro area of Denver?
Yes.
Were you contacted by law enforcement at some point after July 20th, 2012 for records associated with a loyalty customer number and a customer by the name of James E. Holmes?
Yes, I was.
Did you provide those records to law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
How does Kroger and or King Soopers maintain records associated with transaction at King Super stores?
Most of them are electronically saved.
Computers used as part of that?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, are the electronic and computer type of information and records accurate?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, are they kept within the normal course of business for King Soopers and or Kroger?
Yes.
Do you have familiarity with those types of records for a variety of customers?
Yes.
Do you have familiarity with retrieving and maintaining those type of records for the business and in the normal course of business for Kroger and King Soopers?
Yes, I do.
Did you respond to the request for those records specific to James E. Holmes as requested by law enforcement?
I did.
Were you also requested any other type of items aside from just records?
Some still photographs.
Did you provide some still photographs to law enforcement?
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness at this time, please?
Yes.
I've handed you what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 404. I've also provided a copy to defense counsel. Give you a chance to look through 404, People's Exhibit 404, and let me know if you recognize that exhibit.
I do.
What is that?
It is transaction loyalty card data for,
Is that,
for James Holmes.
okay. Is that the same records that you provided to law enforcement?
It is.
Now, when you provide records to law enforcement, do you provide them in a paper form or an electronic form, or how does that work?
This specific time I emailed them in electronic form.
Okay. So these records now, aside from the fact that they're put together in a binder type format, does those appear to be the same or similar records that you transmitted via email to law enforcement in relation to their request?
Yes.
Judge, I would move for admission of People's 404 at this time.
Is there any objection?
I do have an objection if I can approach.
Yes. All right, the objection is overruled, and so People's Exhibit P-TR-404 is admitted.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness, please?
You may.
Sir, I'm going to approach with what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 4737 and 4738. I have shown both of those to counsel as well. Do you recognize those, sir?
Yes, I do.
What are they?
There are snapshots I took from my computer, from store 14, and King Soopers store 14, on a specific date and time.
Okay, what was that date and time?
July 1st, 2012, 16:18:48, and second one is July 1st, 2012 at 16:18:36.
Those particular snapshots that you created, did you provide those to law enforcement?
I did.
Were they in a specific response to a request related to the People's Exhibit 404?
Yes, it was.
Have you had a chance to look at those photographs before coming into court today?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to compare those photographs and specifically the time associated with those photographs in relation to some of the purchase times and dates related to People's Exhibit 404?
Yes, I have.
And do they match?
Yes.
I would move at this time, Judge, for admission of People's Exhibit 4737 and 4738.
Ms. Higgs, same objection?
Yes.
All right. For the same reasons that I stated at the bench a moment ago with respect to P-TR-404, I find that these two exhibits are relevant under Rules 401 and 402, and that they are admissible under Rule 403 because the probative value of the photographs is not substantially outweighed by the danger for unfair prejudice. You may proceed.
Thank you. And Judge,
Or by any of the other concerns listed in Rule 403. Go ahead.
Judge, I will ask permission to publish all three of those.
How would you like to do that?
Just asking if I can publish them. I'll do them one at a time.
Yes.
Thank you. If I could please first have the first page of People's Exhibit 404. It's 404-1. If we could zoom in as best we can kind of to the top portion there. Sir, do you still have People's Exhibit 404 in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Do you have this, also this first page of People's Exhibit 404 right in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. May not be the best to see it on the screen there, and I know that you probably have a cleaner copy in front of you. I'm going to direct your attention to the, first of all, what is this page?
This is a customer inquiry for household details inquiry for a loyalty card.
Okay, so in your work, what does this relate to?
Just an identifier of a certain a person that or that a card belongs to.
Okay, are you familiar with what are commonly referred to as King Soopers loyalty cards?
Yes, I am.
The information that is contained within a King Soopers loyalty card, how does King Soopers or Kroger obtain that information?
We hold it on a customer management database.
How do you initially get that information, though?
It's a voluntary, the customer gives it to us voluntarily.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to the left side of this, and it appears to have an address. Can you just read into the record what that address is?
Yeah, the address is 1690 Paris Street, Aurora, Colorado, 80010-2900.
To the right side of that, it says card, and there's a number associated with that. What is that?
That's the loyalty card number.
Can you read what that card number is, please?
Sure, it's 492-5005-8388.
If I could leave People's Exhibit 404 published for just a moment on the screen. Judge, may I approach with People's Exhibit 22 for a limited purpose?
Yes.
Sir, Sir, I've handed you what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 22. Within that exhibit, does there appear to be something like a King Soopers loyalty card?
Yes, it's a key fob.
Okay,
card.
do you recognize that as being a King Soopers loyalty card key fob?
Yes, yes, I do.
What I'd like you to do is please look at the customer card number on that key fob in People's Exhibit 22 and compare that to the card number that you just looked at for People's Exhibit 404. And tell me if they are the same or if they are dissimilar.
They are the same except for the last digit, which we call a floating digit, just a random number that picks out. That is not applicable to the searching criteria for this.
So based upon your line of work, is the card number associated with People's Exhibit 404 the same card number that's contained within People's Exhibit 22?
Yes, it is.
Judge, I am not seeking to introduce People's Exhibit 22 at this time, subject to further foundation.
Okay.
What is the phone number associated with this particular King Soopers loyalty card?
The phone number is 858-449-7348.
What I'd like to do at this time is to request page 5 of People's Exhibit 404, so it would be 404-5 to be published. And if we could zoom in on the top portion of that before the gray dividing line, please. And while this exhibit is being published here, sir, is it fair to say that the records that you provide, they're often in very, very small print?
Yes.
Okay. By making them larger like we have here, does it make it easier for you to read?
Yes, it does.
All right. Again, I need you to keep your voice up into the microphone. You can look over your shoulder if you need to, or you can look directly at the exhibit itself. But what are we looking at here in general?
It's a transaction detail report, specifically for a certain date and date period.
Okay. What is that date period that we have on the screen now, which is the 5th page of People's Exhibit 404?
It is from 6/17/2012 to 7/20/2012.
Okay, the particular one that we have on the screen, if you just take a quick glance over your shoulder there, what is that transaction date?
Sir, you also have the exhibit on your screen there in front of you.
Oh,
It is transaction date 7/17/2012.
okay. I don't want you to necessarily read all this, but I'm going to direct your attention to some very specific items. First of all, is this a King Soopers transaction?
Yes, it is.
Reading from left to right, I see an information that says store. Do you see that?
Yes,
What is that number underneath store?
14.
Are you familiar with store 14?
I am.
Where is that?
That's on 6th Avenue in Peoria, cross streets. It's 655 Peoria Street.
Are you also familiar with, first of all, that Anschutz Medical Center up on Colfax?
I am.
Are you also familiar roughly with the Paris Street address that we read off?
I'm not too familiar with where that's at.
Okay, so just for your purposes, how close roughly would you say store 14 is compared to the Anschutz Medical Center?
It's north from the store, probably about 2 miles.
Do you see a time of this transaction?
I do.
What time is it?
That transaction is 2054.
So would that be 8:54?
That would be 8:54 PM, yes.
Thank you. What was purchased on July 17th, 2012?
The SKUs are a Duracell Ultra 3-volt lithium photo battery and 2 of those.
This particular transaction, did it correspond with that customer loyalty number you read previously?
Yeah.
If you need to
Yes,
take,
it is. I'll take a look. Yes, it does.
okay. That customer loyalty, that again, is that the one associated with James E. Holmes?
Yes, it is.
Same one that matches the key fob from People's Exhibit 22?
Yes.
You may not be able to see it on the screen there. You do again have it in front of you. What was the total of the July 17th purchase?
The total was $21. 58 cents.
What was the method of payment?
Cash.
If we could have the bottom half of People's Exhibit 404-5, please. Do you see that on your screen, sir?
Yes, I do.
Fair to say this is a different transaction than the one we just read, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
What is the date of this transaction?
July 12th, 2012.
Is this again for the same customer loyalty information associated with James Holmes?
Yes, it is.
What store was this transaction? Where did it take place?
Store 14.
You've went through People's Exhibit 404 previously, prior to your testimony, is that correct?
Yes.
All the transaction, were they at the same store?
Yes.
What was the time of the July 12th, 2012 transaction?
It was at 17:22 or 5:22 p.m.
What I'd like you to do is to describe in your words, and you can group them if you need to, what some of the different types of transactions occurred on July 12th, 2012.
I see tissue, some Kroger foam cups, 16 ounce.
Let me stop you there. Are you familiar with the Kroger foam cups?
Yes.
Are they also, do they contain styrofoam or made out of styrofoam?
Yes.
Were there more than one type, quantity, I should say, of foam cups purchased on this date?
Yeah, I see an 8 ounce and a 16 ounce.
Okay. Fair to say there's numerous cups within each quantity, is that fair?
Yes.
What else was purchased?
Some various grocery items and some deli.
Now, just so we're aware and to educate the jury here, fair to say that this transaction moves on to a second page?
Yes, it does.
Okay, if I could have that second page, please, 404-6. If we could make that a bit larger, please. Continue, if you would, please. What were some of the items purchased?
Again, just some various grocery items, some lithium batteries, looks like Miller, just various grocery items,
Okay.
beverages.
If we could move to People's Exhibit 404-7 and publish that, please. Again, this is another page. Is this all the same transaction from July 12th of 2012?
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the additional items?
Again, various grocery items, beverages.
Were some additional styrofoam cups contained later in this transaction?
Yes, 16 ounce Kroger foam cups, yep.
Okay. If we could please publish People's Exhibit 404-8. Again, you've got People's Exhibit 404 in front of you there. Is this a continuation of the July 12th, 2012 purchase?
Yes, it is.
What are we looking at here? What is this all referring to?
Just the discounts from the loyalty card used, and then the final tender amount.
Okay, I would like to draw your attention to the somewhat bottom right corner there, where it has the word debit, and below that it says cash. Do you see where I'm referring to?
Yes.
What I'd like you to do, please, without saying anything, if you could just, we've got a stick pointer right behind you. Can you just point up on the screen where we're talking about, please, the debit and the cash? Thank you. What is the amount associated with the debit?
$361.54.
There's a large number that is several digits long, continuing to the right of that. It ends in an 8522. Do you see that number?
Yes.
Are you familiar with what that number would be?
Yes.
What is that?
That's the credit card number used. It's a masked credit card number.
Your Honor, may I approach to retrieve an item of evidence, please?
Yes.
Sir, I've handed you what's been previously introduced into evidence as People's Exhibit 720. There's 3 different exhibits there, but I want you to look specifically at 720, if you would, please.
Okay.
Fair to say that is a Visa debit card?
Yes, it is.
Okay, what financial institution is that from?
Point Loma Credit Union.
Could you please look at the account number on that particular debit card and tell me if it matches the account number you're referring to here in People's Exhibit 404?
Yes, the first 6 digits and the last 4 digits are matched. The middle 6 digits are always masked.
What do you mean by they're masked?
It's privacy. We only publish a masked number at this level.
Okay. Despite the fact that they're masked at that level, is that account number associated with People's Exhibit 404 the same as the People's Exhibit 720?
Yes, it is.
And again, People's Exhibit 720, what is the customer or the individual's name on People's Exhibit 720?
James E. Holmes.
Okay. If you could just don't mind putting 720 right back up there. Thank you. Below the debit, I see the word cash. Do you see where I'm referring to?
Yes,
What is that referring to?
that's cash back of $200.
Okay, so just explain to the jury, please, how this transaction went as far as how much the total was and any cash back.
Yeah, the total would be less, so it'd be $161.54, and then received $200 cash back from a debit card
To the customer?
to the customer.
If we could please have People's Exhibit 404-9. And for the record, this is roughly the 9th page within People's Exhibit 404, and we have made that a bit larger here on the screen in open court. Just to kind of orient us, the very top there, the gray portion where I see the tendered amount of $161.54, does that refer to the transaction you were just talking about?
Yes, it does.
Now, below that gray line, does that move into a new transaction?
Yes, it does.
What is the date of the new transaction?
July 3rd, 2012.
Is there a time associated with that?
Yes, 17:31 or 5:31 p.m.
Is this transaction also associated with the same customer loyalty card number as the one you read for James Holmes?
Yes, it is.
We can't necessarily see it here, but what store was this transaction conducted at?
That's store 14.
Is that same one? I think you said 6 in Peoria?
Yes.
Can you describe in general what some of the items purchased on July 3rd in this particular exhibit?
I see Kroger foam cups, 16 ounce, some various beverages.
Let me stop you right there. Those foam cups, are those the same type of styrofoam cups you were describing earlier?
Yes.
Okay, continue, please.
7-Up, some motor oil, 5 weight 20.
Let me ask you a question about 7-Up. Are you familiar with the 7-Up it says 2LT. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's a 2-liter bottle.
Are you familiar with those 2-liter bottles?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with what color they are?
Yes,
What color are they?
green and white.
Okay. Continue down. What were some of the other items purchased?
Motor oil, and then I see paper, Kroger Value paper towels, onion bagels, more various beverages, and
If we could,
yeah,
fair to say this transaction continues on to another page as well?
yes, it does.
If we could have that next page, it would be 404-10, please. Okay, what I'm going to do is, if I could just have you kind of talk us through this. Never mind. We're going to make it large here. Second, continuing on this transaction, again, for the record, this is July 3rd of 2012. Walk us through some more of this particular transaction, please.
I see more grocery items. Believe that's a light bulb. More batteries, or a battery, I should say.
At the bottom there, I see, and I'll just direct your attention sort of to the middle, but to the bottom it says debit. Do you see where I'm referring to?
Yes, I do.
What is the total there?
$116.44.
That account number, again, is that the same account number that you read associated with People's Exhibit 720, that Point Loma debit card?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and you can refer to the debit card if you need to see it again. It's right behind you there. Could I please have 404-11? That would be page 11 of People's Exhibit 404. Above the gray line there, is that continuing that July 3rd transaction?
Yes, it is.
Was there any cash back on that particular purchase?
No.
Okay, so in other words, that the total was the full amount on the debit card?
Yes.
All right, below the line, actually, you know what? That gray line itself, what is the total of that transaction on July 3rd, 2012?
The tendered amount?
Yeah,
It's $116.44.
okay.
$116.44.
Is that the total amount that was expended?
Yes.
All right. Below the gray line, is that fair to say that moves us into yet another transaction?
Yes.
Still another transaction within the month of July 2012?
Yes.
What is the date of this transaction?
July 1st, 2012.
What is the time of this transaction?
16:23 or 4:23 p.m.
Just walk us through briefly, if you would, please, some of the items that were purchased in this transaction still within July of 2012.
Looks like general merchandise, some various grocery items, beverages again.
If we could move to 404-12, please. Continue, if you would, please, some of the items that were purchased here on July 1st, 2012.
Again, more various grocery items.
I'm going to draw your attention to the middle of the section where it says RNZT. Do you see that?
Yes.
ADJ, apple, and cinnamon. Do you know what that refers to?
Renews it.
What is Renews It?
I believe it's a fragrance.
Is it also commonly called an air freshener?
Yeah.
Does there appear to be some air fresheners purchased in this transaction?
Yes, well, at least one. I see. I'm gonna look for some more here. I just see that one. Oh, no, two. I see two.
If we could move to People's Exhibit 404-13. Continue to walk us through, please, July 1st, 2012 purchase.
Again, more grocery items, produce items.
What was the debit amount, tendered amount for this transaction at the bottom, somewhat right portion of this screen?
$112.99.
That account number, is that the same account number associated with the Point Loma debit card in People's Exhibit 720?
Yes, it is.
If I could have People's Exhibit 404-14, please. Walk us up to the gray line again. What was the total tendered amount for the July 1st, 2012 purchase?
The tendered amount was $112.99.
Is it fair to say that's after some coupons and things of that had ran off the order?
That's correct. The extended amount is before the coupons were taken off.
Okay, so the grand total was $112.99?
Yes.
Okay. The final transaction that I want to move through is below that. I believe that's in June. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is.
What is the date of that transaction?
June 21st, 2012,
What is the time of that transaction?
13:21 or 1:21 p.m.
Can you walk us through just in general some of the items purchased here?
See various produce and grocery items, eggs, cereal.
Could we have People's Exhibit 404-15, please? Please continue to walk us through this purchase.
Again, more various grocery items.
This transaction, June 21st, 2012, did that associate also with the customer loyalty card number associated with James Holmes?
Yes.
If I could have 404-16, please. Walk us through this, please.
Again, more grocery items, bread.
Is there a 2-liter 7-Up?
Yes, there is. Diet 2 liter, yeah.
Could I have 404-17, please?
Some more grocery items, milk, dairy, 2 liter orange Diet Sunkist and Diet 7-Up.
And People's Exhibit 404-18, please. All of this still refers to the June 21st transaction?
Yes, it does.
Can you walk us through what the total amount was and any cash back, please?
Yeah, the tender amount was $340.16 with cash back to the customer of $200.
So what was the total for the actual King Soopers purchase itself?
$140.16.
Judge, I know we're at the noon hour. I have just a few more questions, if we may.
Yes, go ahead.
If we could please go back to 404-11, please. Sir, do you still have before you People's Exhibit 4737? That would be one of the photographs.
Yes.
Can you please take a look at 4737? And I will publish it here in a moment, but fair to say that particular exhibit, it's already been admitted. Does it have a date and time stamp associated with it?
Yes, it does.
What is the date?
The date is July 1st, 2012.
Does it also have a time associated with that?
Yes, 16:18 or 4:18 p.m.
Does that date and time associate with what I have on the screen now as 404-11 as far as date and time of this transaction?
Yes, it does.
It's not necessarily on this screen here. You may have to look at your booklet itself, but can you tell the register associated with the transaction for July 1st, 2012?
Yes, I can.
What is that?
Register 12.
Does that also correspond with the register that's shown in People's Exhibit 4737?
Yes, it does.
Similar questions for 4738. Do you have that photograph handy?
Yes, I do.
Does that photograph have a date and time stamp?
Yes, it does.
Does that date and time stamp match the what I have published right now as 404-11 for the July 1st, 2012 transaction?
It correlates with it. Yes, it does.
Okay. Does it also correlate with the same register checkout as number 12?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thank you. If I could please publish People's Exhibit 4737, please. What are we looking at here, sir?
That is the snapshot I supplied to the officers requesting.
If we could please have People's Exhibit 4738. What is this?
Just a second snapshot, a different couple seconds later.
Okay. Same transaction that's related to People's Exhibit 404?
Yes, it is.
And the same transaction related to James Holmes for People's Exhibit 404?
Yes.
Thank you. Just going to have one moment briefly, please.
Yes, I'm going to turn the lights back on.
Just for clarity, in case I didn't say it that last, actually, let's go ahead and put back up 4738 just briefly. Just for the record, where is the date and timestamp on this photograph?
On the bottom center,
Okay, what is the date of this photograph?
July 1st, 2012.
At the very top, there's a number 5. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
What does that refer to, if you know?
That is the camera number.
Okay. Anything else? Judge, I have nothing further at this time. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Higgs, do you have cross-examination?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the jury may have a question for you, so give us a moment, sir, please.
Sure.
All right, would counsel please approach? Sir, the jury has submitted some questions that, based on the rules of evidence and other applicable rules of law, I have determined are appropriate. The first question is, what was the quantity of motor oil purchased on July 3, 2012?
I would have to refer to the transaction. Did you say July 3?
Yes.
I see 4, quantity of 4.
The next question is, as custodian of records, would you have been able to locate transactions prior to June 17, 2012?
Yes.
And the final question is, if so, did you access prior transactions to ascertain those purchases?
There is prior to July or June.
Prior to June 17, 2012. The question is, did you access prior transactions to ascertain those purchases?
No, I just ran a query for June 17th to July 20th.
All right. Any follow-up questions, Mr. Edson, based on those questions?
No, thank you.
Any follow-up questions, Ms. Higgs, based on those questions? May this witness be released from his subpoena?
Your Honor.
Ms. Higgs? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, members of the jury, it's about 10 minutes after 12, so let's go ahead and take our lunch break. Please remember that my advisements apply during the lunch break. Enjoy your lunch, and I'll see you back here in approximately an hour and a half at about 1:40, okay? Thank you. The record should reflect that the jury has exited the courtroom. Please be seated, everyone. I had a chance to review People's Exhibit P-TR-999 over the weekend, so we can plan to talk about that at the end of the day, today after the jury goes home, okay? All right, is there anything that we need to talk about at this time on behalf of the people?
Briefly, Judge, People's Exhibit 22 that's not been admitted, I'm guessing you want that kept with your clerk and court reporter?
To avoid confusion, it's probably better if you keep it unless there's an objection to that. Is there any objection to that? No, and the defense is saying no. All right,
I will retrieve it, thank you.
okay. Anything on behalf of the defense at this time? Mr. King, do you have anything? Okay, thank you. I'll see you after lunch. The court will be in recess.